On this episode of In the Gun, bowl season as we know it continues to fade. And could Mr. Beast change the landscape of college sports? All that and more on this episode of ITG.
Caution, this podcast contains bad jokes, optimism, and a healthy disdain for Pat Narduzzi. Watching it may increase your actual knowledge of actual football.
ITG.
All the pieces are in place for us to have a chance to win it all.
And we're the three best friends that anybody could have.
There's Owen Schmitt in the building.
Like a runaway beer truck down the sidelines.
Towards the end, he in there, Jed Drenning.
I'm not much of an athlete.
The thing that's non-negotiable is playing hard and playing tough.
And Wesley, Valen, Uhler. You are in the gun.
Because once you enter this family, there's no getting out.
In the Gun, episode 325 of your new favorite WVU football podcast. I am Wes Uhler, as always, with the best teammates in the business. We've got the signal caller, Jed Drenning. We've got the runaway beer truck and barbecue and sharp-dressed Big O. And you already know the whole village behind us that makes this thing possible. A big shout-out to all the good people at Team Toothman Ford, JR. We all know cars cost less, and Grafton. A big thank you to one of our day ones, Rick Lewis, and everybody at Fortis for roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed. You got to visit fortis.us.com. To friends of the show and friends in real life, Tim, Emily, Bryce, all the folks at Johnston Equipment. Make sure you're visiting them, Route 33 between Weston and Buchanan. You can also check them out online, Johnston with a T, JohnstonEQ.com. And to the Book Exchange. Get all your WVU gear and apparel at the Book Exchange. Over 90 years of providing everything you need to prove you're the ultimate WVU fan. Shop their two locations, Evansdale on Patterson Drive, and of course downtown, or you can always shop online at bookexchangewv.com. Jed, we are going to talk about how YouTube sensation Mr. Beast might change the face of the college football landscape, the playoff, a G5 program from his backyard. But before we get to that, the ongoing, just off-season every year that we've had this podcast of more and more of that change to the college football landscape. Bowl season as we know it continues to fade, continues to die.
Yeah, it's being relocated in different ways, and in some cases it's being rendered outright obsolete. Recently, Brett McMurphy, in the last handful of days, of course, from On3, posted on X, breaking: Detroit's bowl game canceled after 29 years, sources told On3. Bowl title sponsors were Game Above Sports, Quick Lane, Little Caesars, and Motor City. This is the third bowl to fold in the past year, along with the LA and Bahamas bowls. So let's start with this. I think of the Detroit Bowl. Of course, at least we'll always have the 2024 matchup in which Toledo knocked off Pitt in 6 overtimes. I mean, we're just going to pick and go in the postseason to lose the MAC schools now. But yeah, it's a fair point. It kind of highlights the instability of some of these lower to even mid-tier bowls, what kind of jeopardy they might be in, that are in non-traditional areas. Obviously, Detroit's not something you think of as a postseason desperation, or you want a vacation in Michigan in December. But so can the same be said about some of these other bowl venues. I mean, you had this run on bowls in recent years. I mean, this proliferation to where it got up to close to 40 bowls, where everybody and their brother was trying to be part of the bowl system. And that's when you had the Military Bowl in Annapolis. You had the Pinstripe Bowl in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium, the Fenway Bowl, of course, at Fenway Park in Boston. I mean, even the Frisco Bowl, which West Virginia participated in a few years ago, that's not really a touristy area in December. Maybe other parts of the year, certain parts of Texas, but you think California, you think Florida, some of these southern destinations. But so are some of these other bowls going to go the way of the dinosaur? I recognize I'm atypical. I enjoyed the week in New York for the Pinstripe Bowl. I did. I thought it was kind of neat being in New York, right? After around the holidays. If we had won the game, it would have made a much better trip. But yeah, being around the city, getting to take in some of those sights, that was kind of neat. And Annapolis is one of my favorite places. I got engaged there, but I recognize I'm not like everybody else. Everybody wants to travel south and get warm, and that's what bowls are for. When you look back at what bowls were established to do, they were exhibition games to draw people to warm weather climates. It's what they were designed to do. Initially, they were meaningless games. They didn't impact the national championship at all. The voting took place before the bowl games were even played back in the day when all these things started.
Yeah.
They just wanted to draw northern people into southern markets. And here we are with all these northern games. So, guys, I just kind of wonder, it prompts this conversation. What bowls are next? How many bowls are next? Some people complain there's too many bowls. That's one school of thought. Another school of thought is, look, it's no longer, the era of 10 or 12 bowl games, and it's a huge achievement to get to one. Now it's just a function of TV inventory is necessary in December. You don't have to watch them, but it does fill a lot of time slots around the holidays. If you want to watch a couple 6-5 teams, 6-6 teams, great. If you don't have to. What do you want? Reruns of Gunsmoke, whatever it might be. So there's two ways of looking at that. But where do you see some of these bowls going? Are they going to be pared down? I don't know financially how they can survive with this new climate.
I mean, it's probably going to be tough for them to survive at all. Just with what's floating around college football. I mean, to make those bowls really relevant, I think they have to be a part of the playoff. And if they're not a part of the playoff, the relevance kind of just in today's modern game kind of just fades away. That's my personal opinion. But, unless they're going to be down in the Californias, Arizonas, Florida's good weather spots, maybe even like a, I don't know, crazy bowl in Panama City or something, I would definitely go to that bowl. That'd be a fun bowl. You know what I mean? But I think that's really where they're headed. They're either going to just kind of wither away or going to be a part of where college football is headed.
Yeah, we were all, in our group chat a few days ago, we were all kind of, old man, get off my lawn, like complaining about how every like it's a sporting event now. These aren't just games anymore. They're not just playoff games or Super Bowls or anything like that. It's an event. It's got to have the pomp and the circumstance and the hoopla and all that. This is kind of another, same church, different pew as you mentioned, the collective. And I'm not even going to say of college football fans, because I think real college football fans, not NFL people who watch college, not just general sports fans. I'm talking college football fans, like the three of us. Nobody wants to see less bowl games. We love this stuff. I love it that it's December 26th and 27th. You turn a game on at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. That's awesome. It's fantastic. Bowl season has been, while it's, as Jed pointed out, changed and adapted and modest, humble beginnings. It's been a huge part of the college football landscape for a long time, but this is another one of those. The toothpaste is out of the tube. We could kick and we can scream and we could cry about it, but that's not going to change the reality of these things are going the way of the dodo bird, and that's just the reason it is, because as the college football playoff expands, we've decided, I don't mean we as in, like the three of us, the collective we have decided that nothing else matters. The 9-3 Mountaineers, Big O, or you guys, I think maybe 9-3, whatever you were that year, going down to Georgia Tech, beating Calvin Austin in the Rambling Wreck in the Gator Bowl. You having a great performance. You guys using that win to finish in the top 10 for what was the second year in a row, became, part of 3 years there of you guys finishing in the top 10, kind of sandwiched between those BCS games. That stuff mattered for so long, going down to the Gator Bowl and beating Georgia Tech or Maryland or somebody like that. It was the whipped cream and the cherry on top of a good season. But that's just not the case anymore, guys. I mean, we know there will never be another national championship game at the Rose Bowl. There will never be another Super Bowl at the Rose Bowl. That's just, these things are going the way of the dodo bird. And again, it sucks, but unfortunately, it's just the reality that we all face.
10-2. 10-2 you guys were on. But I remember, guys, when I was a kid, I couldn't even tell you what year it was, sometime in the 80s, but there was a relatively meaningless holiday bowl on between BYU and Penn State. And as those holiday bowls often went, it was wildly entertaining to the bitter end. And what I remember about it is my dad was working second shift at the mines, and I was sitting there watching the game, and Dad came home, and he got home in time to watch the fourth quarter of the game with me. And we're just sitting there. I mean, these two teams, it probably, in the grand scheme of the final standings of college football, it meant very little, next to nothing. But we just found it an incredibly entertaining football game to sit there and watch with my dad and laugh. Hey, you think they'll score again? Are they going to match? Are they going to do that and trump them and jump one up and back and forth they went and back and forth they went? Who cared about the final standings of college football? We were just watching an entertaining football game that was filling a time slot on our TV late one Tuesday night or whatever it might have been. And that's the nature of December. You are home around the holidays more than you're home any other time of the year. And you're oftentimes just looking for something to do as you lounge around and lazily just sit there in the chair with a TV on in the background or maybe in the forefront and just watch these games. It's either that or something else filling that TV inventory. It doesn't bother me in the slightest that it's 6 and 6 teams or whatever the case might be. We're no longer in the era where you have to be among the best to get there. That went, like you said, the way the dodo bird decades ago. So here we are, and I think we're not deep enough into the off-season guys yet to dive into this conversation about, because you're going to have more players opting out the further we go along. You're not going to have less players opting out. You're going to have more players opting out. Just going to be one team's backups against another team's backups until you don't have to play the game. And we're seeing some instances of that, right? So you're going to have to find some way, once you figure out the playoff itself, once you figure out the CFP, the meaningful part of it, which they still haven't figured out, tinkering with numbers and trying to perfect that. Once you find that sweet spot, step number 2 in my estimation is finding the sweet spot for the football version of an NIT tournament and paying people to play in it and paying people to perform and win games. Incentivize them with major sponsorships. Otherwise, you're just not going to get talent in these games. They're not going to find it worth the risk. They're going to forego the game and be ready for the draft. That's just what's going to happen unless you're paying a pretty good chunk of change to be part of some 16, 24 team NIT tournament that's outside of the playoffs that helps satisfy that need for TV inventory in December.
It's the way she goes. I mean, I don't have much more to add. It's the reality. The TV inventory part is surprising to me because it feels like live sports are still the one thing that even in the streaming world now that we live in, there's still, plenty of space for. But I guess those are just the breaks for the college football world now as we continue to be more and more playoff centric. Let's take a break here. When we return on the other side, there is a YouTuber, a influencer, rather popular, Mr. Beast, who's got a lot of money and might try and spend it on leading a G5 college football program to the promised land? We'll explain and we'll discuss when we return on the other side. You are in the gun.
For nearly 20 years, Fortis has been the nation's leader in providing guaranteed roof performance programs for commercial buildings. Fortis offers roof performance solutions that feature extensive initial and ongoing reconditioning for commercial buildings as an alternative to traditional replacement, with long-term performance guarantees that are backed by global leader Lloyd's of London. Fortis offers a comprehensive range of roof performance management programs that provide financial security, extend the life of our customers' roofs, and make a significant impact on ROI. Fortis is currently improving performance and increasing ROI for customers at more than 4,800 locations, with more than 140 million square feet protected, including many Fortune 500 companies that have turned to Fortis to save money, gain financial certainty, and extend the life of their existing roofs. Fortis has helped customers save more than $520 million in capital roof replacement costs for an average ROI of over 250%. To learn more, visit fortis.us.com. Fortis, roof performance and financial certainty guaranteed.
Nobody supports the blue and gold Mountaineers like Toothman Ford. With over 20 NIL deals and counting, Toothman Ford continues to rally behind our student athletes. And it's time we rally and support the dealer that supports the Mountaineers. Not only does Toothman Ford offer the best prices in the state on pre-owned, their never over MSRP campaign on new Fords guaranteed to save you thousands. Drive with pride all season long, knowing you're supporting the dealer that fuels our Mountaineers. Toothman Ford, where cars cars cost less in Grafton and at toothmanford.com.
When the sun's just rising and the work won't wait, you need the equipment that works just as hard as you do. Johnson Equipment delivers power, performance, and reliability day in, day out. Whether you're plowing fields, hauling loads, or planting the future, our tractors are built to take it and then some. Strong, reliable, ready.
Low rate financing available on select Coyote models.
Johnson Equipment, farming made easy.
Get all your Mountaineer gear in WVU apparel at the Book Exchange. They're the locally owned and operated retailer with more than 90 years of selling everything you need for game day and everything else you need to show you're the ultimate WVU fan. Shop at their 2 locations at downtown Morgantown or Evansdale on Pattison Drive, or online at bookexchangewv.com.
When shopping online at bookexchangewv.com, be sure to enter code INTHEGUN20 at checkout for an awesome savings of 20%. That's right, 20%.
Back in the gun here as we roll along on this edition of ITG. And ladies and gentlemen, if you listen, I know when I say the name Mr. Beast, even for me, that's kind of like a foreign language, and I'm going to be 35 years old in a couple weeks. So I'm not young anymore, but I'm not going the way of the dodo bird just quite yet. But Mr. Beast, he is one of the biggest YouTube personalities in that kind of realm of influencers and content creators and all that stuff. He's got zillions and billions and millions and trillions of followers on YouTube, and he's got a lot of money. And he is from Greenville, North Carolina, which is, of course, where East Carolina University, the ECU Pirates, are. And he basically teased the idea on his Instagram account a few days ago, last week, about taking $100 million, investing it into ECU football in their NIL, and trying to win ECU a national championship. This sounds like something that a lot of us would do on video games and, on college football video games and stuff like that in the past. We have all seen now, I think Indiana is living proof that with the right coach and a little bit of backing and all that stuff, you can turn your fortunes around pretty stinking quickly in this new landscape of college athletics and college football. But guys, I don't know. $100 million, a lot of money. Now, I guess in terms of a university and a college football program, like $100 million, as funny as it sounds, isn't a crazy amount if you wanted to do facilities and all that kind of stuff, right? But in terms of just, here's $100 million, let's go hire the best coaches, let's put together a dynamite roster here for a couple years, and let's go try and win a national championship that way, that can certainly take you a long way. ECU, G5, $100 million, one of the biggest YouTube influencers going. I don't know, Big O. Could this work, or is this all just crazy just for clicks and impression and to, get people talking?
Well, I mean, the money's great, but you got to have the people who are spending the dollar bills, hopefully they're making the right adjustments, right? The right purchases. I mean, that's ultimately the biggest thing, the people that are evaluating the talent, and I think too, if you look at what Indiana did it's last year now. It's not so much about getting the highest dollar guy. It's really almost like I always say, like the Moneyball thing, right?
Yep.
It's that's what you're trying to purchase, right? So that money could go towards, some sort of GM who would be that talent, who would get, understand it that way and be able to piece your team together. But I don't know. I mean, it certainly obviously worked for Coach Signetti and his crew, but I also know there's a talent evaluation that's going on there now. Being able to retain those guys once you get them, $100 million could be, that could help sweeten the pot, or even $100 million as far as, I don't know. Maybe it could. You know what I mean? I don't know. Well, I guess we'll have to find out, Mr. Beast.
Yeah, put your money where your mouth is, buddy. Yeah, Jed, I don't. We've seen. You look at a program like Texas Tech that has infused a lot of money the last couple of years, and they were in a playoff. What was it, quarterfinal this year? Yes. They're we have certainly seen where we've seen the uptick even from programs that have a lot of money, but we've seen what Texas and Texas A&M and Ohio State have invested into their NIL rosters and their head coaches. But it's just like, I don't know. Again, the two things. One is, I know $100 million, it's a ton of money. It sounds like a lot of money, but if you're going to go and you're going to pay a top flight coach $15 million a year, let's say, and then you want to put $30 million into your roster, that's $45 million a year right there. After 2 years, bang, $90 million, you're basically up against it. And Jed, if you really want to turn this into like an eBay of buying the best players, I don't know. I would defer to you guys on this one because you've obviously been in those locker rooms, not in the NIL era, but still. If I'm going to go and I'm going to try and get my quarterback and I'm going to say to him, okay, we're going to pay you $7 million. And he comes back to me and he goes, Ohio State's offering me 7.5. And I go, okay, we'll give you 8. Ohio State's offering me 8.5. Okay, we'll give you 9. Like, at what point is it enough and the kid just wants to be a part of your program as to where you're truly just overpaying for mercenaries who are never really going to be that invested? They're just in it for the biggest paycheck possible. I don't know. It's just, it's a lot to consider.
To some extent, that's where we are. That's the harsh reality of it.
True.
But for those stepping into this conversation saying, Mr. Who? I mean, who is this guy? What are you talking about now? If you don't have a kid, or you've never stumbled across who this guy might be. At Wes, as you talked about, he's an online entertainer, an influencer, and he's famous for making money by giving away money. He's pretty clever and smart about it. He's a great innovator. He's a great marketer. Does things like one of his famous initiatives was giving away $2 million and a private island once he hit 100 million subscribers on YouTube. Or was it on maybe on Instagram, something or the other. $2.4 million private jet giveaway with this thing. He had a competition among 100 pilots. And just imagine the traffic this generates. So you're wondering, where does this money come from? Well, yes, you can make money off these social media platforms when you're getting millions and millions of downloads and subs and follows. That's how this works. He did a Squid Game recreation with a $456,000 prize, reinventing what the Netflix series did. So that's kind of what he does. He gives away money, he invests money, he has fun with money. And what's more fun than this modern age of college football, where we've just seen the highest bidder is going to be competitive out of the gate, to saying, hey, all right, I have ties to East Carolina. I live in the area. As I understand it, Wes, he's even used their facilities for some of his production. So there's some form of relationship, unless I'm wrong, with him and the administration. So it's not like they're strangers. But here's where this gets interesting. A lot of things to talk about here. First, I'm not sure, is it G5 or is it G6? Are we still deciding that?
Because true. I think it is G6.
Because until the Pac-12, that's what's hovering back and forth. Until the Pac-12 is settled on, nobody really has a clear answer, So, but let's talk about this for a minute. If, in fact, you have $100 million to drop, what would that look like? What could you bring in to Greenville, North Carolina? First of all, let's start with this. Dowdy-Ficklin Stadium, it's not one of the smaller venues out there. It's not like Kennesaw State, the smallest stadium in FBS football that seats only 10,000, or Sam Houston State, 14,000. Hawaii's only 15,000. Charlotte's only 15,000. That's not the case in East Carolina. They're 51,000. They're not at the top of the American Conference, but they're in the top 4 or 5. Okay, because that's a conference
attendance
that also...
Same attendance as Pitt. Same attendance as Pitt with their brand new fancy tarps. Very nice.
Except I'm sure they have more butts in the seats.
Same capacity.
Yeah, you're in a conference that has the Alamo Dome. Also, you have some teams sharing stadiums and facilities with pro teams like, Lincoln Financial with Temple and the Eagles. So that's what you would have to begin with. But let's break down the numbers. $100 million. Are you going to do this over a couple years? Because you got to plan ahead. You got to strategize. That's
what I mean,
right? Yeah, that's what you need to do. And who's going to coach this team? Are you going to keep Blake Harrell? Is she your coach? Or if you're throwing around $10 million to your head coach, are you going to keep Blake Harrell and get? I'm not so sure. This is no knock on Blake Harrell. Good football coach. But now I
hear Brian Kelly's available here, Jed. I mean, I don't know.
And I go back to this. How many times have I said this about Texas Tech? The most instrumental part of that program, in my estimation, is their general manager, which is why Notre Dame made not 1, but 2 serious runs at him. So you need serious talent evaluation Just throwing all money does. Money creates a larger margin for error. Okay. The Yankees don't have to be perfect. The Pirates do, because the Yankees are going to outspend the Pirates 10-1. So the Yankees can miss on a lot of guys that the Pirates can't miss on because they're not going to spend on those guys. Same thing in college football. The more you're willing to spend, the more you can miss on. You don't have to be perfect. But let's talk about what these numbers might look like, guys. First, let's say you want to invest $50 million a year. Let's just cut it in half and say you want to do this over 2 years. How are you going to do that? Because there are problems people don't recognize. First of all, let's talk rev share versus NIL. Two completely different categories, right? We've talked about this on the show how many times? The revenue share component is what came from the House settlement. That is the percentage of your athletic department's revenue, which is 22% or so. It was part of the House settlement. They took the average of all the power conference schools. Okay, it's 20.5 million. You're allowed to divvy that up among all your athletes, all your sports. Most of it goes to football, which puts most power conference schools around 13 or 14 million to spend on their football team with rev share, not NIL. That's separate. We'll get to that in a second. Rev share, 13, 14 million per power conference team, just rev share, right? And there are some power conference teams that struggle to get to that number. Iowa State had to borrow significant revenue and resources to get to that full rev share number and stay competitive. Cincinnati has struggled to get to that full number. So if you're looking at a school like East Carolina, their starting point isn't the same 13 or 14 million dollars from rev share that all the other power conference schools that they would be competing with to try and win a title. They're getting maybe a couple to $3 million if they're lucky for football, if they're lucky. So now you got to spend 10 or $11 million just to make up that difference and catch up as a starting point to where all the power conference schools already are. Before you get an NIL, you have to do that just from rev share to equalize that. Now let's go to NIL. Lane Kiffin takes the job at LSU, and LSU promised him $25 million. Guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm not sure they can do that, because under the current structure with the CSC, the College Sports Committee, you have to filter these deals through approval. A lot of what's happening right now, this is where it gets murky. A lot of these deals that still exist, the rules changed last July 1st of 2025. That's when the CSC kicked in. That's when you had to start submitting your offers, NIL offers. Now we're out of rev share into NIL. That's when you had to start submitting your NIL offers to get approved by the CSC. Before July 1st, they didn't have to be approved. It was the Wild West. It was basically whatever you offer is going to get approved. You can pay a kid $5 million to sweep a floor. It's probably going to get approved because there was no oversight. All right. So what they did was they were smart about it. Some of these schools signed multi-year deals and front-loaded that money. See what I'm saying? So even though the kid got paid back then, yeah, they're following the rules and going through the CSC now, but the kid's still, in some cases, reaping the benefits of a multi-year deal and in limited cases by what they were paid before these rules kicked in. But now all the rules have to filter through the CSC. So you are going to struggle and struggle mightily to spend even the $25 million LSU's talking about.
Yeah.
And get it spent on 1 year's roster. It's not just as simple as, hey, I want a quarterback. Automatically pay him $6 million and there will be no problems. That's what I'm telling you. You can't trust all these numbers you're hearing, even out of places like Miami with Carson Beck, because agents are inflating these numbers. It's very difficult to get down to the hardcore true number. Agents want to inflate the number and make the average person think the number is higher than it actually is, because then they can go to a competitive school and say, what are you talking about? You're only offering the guy this. The other school offered him that, when in fact they didn't offer him that. They just want you to think that. And so that's an insult to my guy. You're offering half as much as the other school, when in fact the other school never offered that. That's the game that agents are playing. You can't trust these numbers. Yes, there's big money being spent. Yes, there's big money being tossed around, but it has to be filtered one deal at a time through the College Sports Committee. And they're not just going to say, oh, great, sounds good, push a broom for $4 million. That world no longer exists. So how, if you're Mr. Beast, are you going to step into East Carolina and say, all right, I'm going to buy a coach for $10 million. Whoever the best coach on the open market is, $50 million I'm spending year one, $10 million of it goes to my coach. $5 million goes to the staff. Whatever you want to do. Now I have $35 million left to play with. Okay, it's not as easy as you might think to just go out and blow $35 million through the CSC, filtering every individual deal and get it approved. A bunch of these deals are getting rejected. It's difficult to do. The only way to do it, which hasn't happened, but guys, mark my words, it's coming. The only way you can do it is if you employ the player. Let's say, Wes, you own Wes Uhler Incorporated, all right? And you're a booster for West Virginia University. And you're like, man, I'd like to give a quarterback $6 million, but I can't get it approved through the College Sports Committee. Man, they're not going to approve my deal. But you know what the College Sports Committee has no dominion over? You saying, you know what? This guy that just happens to be a really talented quarterback, I think he also has a great skill set to be my CFO. I'm going to bring him in for $6 million to be the CFO of my company. Now, my company's not publicly traded. I personally own it. If it's publicly traded, that's different. Now you're involving a board and some other issues.
Sure.
But if you privately own your company and it's not publicly traded and you make all the decisions, you can say, the kid make a great CFO. And he's worth $6 million. Good luck stopping me through litigation. Yeah. You're not going to be able to. So now you can say, what's this? Oh, on the side, you want to play football at West Virginia? Oh, sure. Okay. I think there's enough. Yeah, you can be my CFO plus be quarterback at West Virginia. That's coming. And there's going to be litigation over that, and that's going to have to be settled. Because unless you're doing something like that, you are going to have to each one of these individually carved out deals, get them approved through the committee, through the CSC, and the CSC is going to have to individually stack up each of those offers until you get to the $100 million that Mr. Beast hopes to spend. And it is not as easy as you think. It's great to have more money than less.
Sure.
But you have to get really creative, and they're shooting down a lot of these deals.
Well, Owen, it sounds like we just need Mr. Beast to give me the $100 million, and I'll start Wes Uhler Incorporated, and then
there you go.
I bring you two in as my audio consultants. You know, nice. I don't know, what are we thinking? Nice. You know, $10 million gig or something like that. You know, we hire a real good accountant to cook the books for us, and then we figure out the rest later. I mean, no problem. Problem solved. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Jed. And that was kind of what I was thinking and alluding to when I don't want to sound like an idiot. $100 million is a ton of money, but on this scale, it's still a ton of money, but it's not the type of money to take a low man on the totem pole in this conversation, and all of a sudden you're going to be able to beat Georgia and Alabama and Ohio State, you know, and Miami to win a national championship. It's a cool idea. It's one that I'm sure, you know, hey, it did the job on us, right? We're talking about it here. You're welcome, Mr. Beast. I mean, I know you have, hold on, I pulled it up here, 466 million subscribers on YouTube. Good Lord. But you're welcome. There. You're welcome for the free publicity from us who have a little over 4,000 subscribers on YouTube. All right. You're welcome, Mr. Beast. This first one was free. Next one's going to cost you, pal. 466 million.
Here's some sense of the disparity.
Hold on, just real quick, Jed.
Go ahead.
Jed, his most popular video ever is that Squid Game in real life one that you referenced. 905 million views on YouTube.
Not even a billion. Come on.
Good Lord. I mean, yeah, could you hit 1 billion? I mean, come on.
Come on, man. Yeah. Round up. Right, Owen?
Well, I'll give you one extra click, Mr. Beast, after this episode. I'll go and watch it. All right. I'll get you closer to 1 billion. You're welcome. That's crazy, guys. I mean, it's and something like this, you know, let's not kid ourselves. Like, we've seen big money people. We've seen it at Texas Tech come in and change the program. I mean, you guys, I'm sure you're probably familiar with this, but Terry Pagula, the guy who owns the Buffalo Sabres and the Buffalo Bills, he's a Penn State grad. Like, 10 years ago, he gave Penn State $100 million to build a hockey facility and start a Division I hockey program. Now they have the number one prospect in the country, Gavin McKenna, who's likely going to go number one overall. 10 years ago, Penn State was club hockey. Since then, they've been to Frozen Fours. They've got the number one prospect in the country, all this stuff. And that was Terry Pagula a decade ago saying, here's $1 million to invest in hockey for Penn State. So you can definitely do these kind of things, but it is not just as simple as like, hey, I've got a budget. Let's go try and buy a national championship.
It's that there are impediments and obstacles. Like when you talk to people who would know, their educated guess is far more accurate than our educated guess. People that are involved in this, people immersed in this, people who do this for a living, And their estimation would be, look, there might be some team that figures out a way creatively and does the heavy lift to get to a $40 million NIL payroll for their team. But that is very, very hard. You can't just take the money from the billionaire and say, oh, thanks, I'll spend it tomorrow. No, you spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of creative thought trying to get these things through the net. So the CSC approves these deals, and those deals add up collectively to $40 million or so dollars. Not many teams are going to be able, first, they're not going to have the resources to do it, but they'll have the will, but they won't have the resources. But even if you have the resources, it takes a lot of will and a lot of creativity. You'll have some teams maybe push that number, but that's going to be a short list. But Owen, consider this. You're talking about East Carolina. I go back to what I said about the rev share part before you get into the NIL part. There is huge disparity just with the rev share side of it. Again, split a line down the middle of the screen. On the one side is the revenue share, on the other side is NIL. Two completely different buckets. Power conference schools that have football programs on average are going to have $13-14 million of the $20.5 million to spend on the roster from rev share. Now, NIL is icing on that rev share cake. Some schools come up with tens of millions in rev share. Some schools can't. But listen to what the American Athletic Conference, which East Carolina is a member of. This is something I just read recently. The American Athletic Conference, this was written last year. There's a mandate to spend, this was all coming about last summer. The American Conference had a mandate to spend at least $10 million total in all sports, not just football, 10 million over the next 3 years. That was the Americans' mandate. Hey, we got to be serious about this. So you got to spend 10 million on all your sports over the next 3 years. Yeah, sure, the power conference is spending 13-14 million a year just on rev share, just in football. But we got to spend 10 million the next 3 years. That's the conference that East Carolina is a member of. So that's the kind of language they're hearing. Now, coaches inside the AAC, they were believing that the average rev share for football teams would be around $2.5 million per football roster. Some programs might be closer to $2 million, while others, like Memphis, might be a little higher, maybe even just pushing $5 million. I mean, they have that FedEx money and all the other stuff down in Memphis, but you're talking between $2 and $5 million broken over a conference that's trying to jump in and compete with schools that are all getting 13-14 million just for their rev share roster. This is a huge difference, Owen.
Yeah. Well, because somewhat of an unfair advantage, to be honest. And that's kind of why I feel like almost those conferences have been suppressed a little bit as far as, what they're going to be able to do when it comes to the grand scheme of things. But I don't know, man. It's Jed. I mean, I even just learned some things from just listening to you about how really the whole thing works as far as what you can really spend and what you're allowed to spend. So, who knows, man? I mean, East Carolina could probably use some upgrades and facilities, I'm sure, as well. So that might be where some of the money is spent too. But getting to that point and making sure that everything's legal, I'm sure that I assume they'd have to go the back door to make it happen. These next 2 years, anyways. Huh?
Old school SEC, yeah.
Yeah, it would have to be that way. I mean, hey, go
bring McDonald's money
bring
bags.
The bag man back.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, that's just how it's gonna. I mean, that's how it'll have to be, or it's just back under the table again, like you said, and don't say nothing about it. Just start laundering that money.
Wes, they're talking about taking these steps. Like, if in fact he did this, which, look, I think this is a promotional stunt, brilliant on his part. This isn't going to happen. I'd be shocked if it happened, but in 2020, I promised myself nothing would ever shock me again. Here I am being shocked again if this would happen. But they're talking about going all in. maybe even rename certain things Beast Carolina instead of East Carolina.
Oh,
all
gosh.
access, videos, podcasts, cameras all over the building, 24 hours a day, all access to
Beast
staff,
Carolina.
everything. Making a TV show around it, a YouTube show around it. They're talking about going all in. Obviously, roster overhauls, coaching changes to get into a national title chase, but it will be a completely different animal. I mean, somebody did this for recruiting, or for the portal, I should say. Well, it was Tulsa. We talked about it on the show. Tulsa had that portal house where they put the coaches in the house for a couple days, and they said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to provide access. And I think I didn't follow up to see what kind of money or success that might have made, but I can see this working. There would be an appetite for it. I mean, I know I'd be interested to see what played out, but I actually had a buddy that was recently a staffer. He was on the staff at East Carolina on the previous staff before Blake Harrell came in. And I texted him, and I'm kind of curious. I have some questions about his view on this. And you know what? Maybe at some point we'll bring him on the show if this gains any purchase. But I was asking him and haven't got any interesting enough answers to report. But I'm very curious. I don't think it's going to happen, but I think it's a fascinating topic of conversation. And Owen, like you said, maybe the only way to truly get it done over the span of 1 to 2 years, bring back the SEC bag man and say, all right, if you got this college sports committee, we're not playing by those rules. Here's your $5 million. Come and do it. We need a quarterback, or I'm going to buy your mom a house. I mean, I'm talking old school Southeastern Conference, you know. Oh, hey, what's that? All of a sudden your preacher's happy because of the renovation to the church. Oh, okay. Wow, how'd that happen? You know, secret donation. Okay. So maybe that comes back. I don't know. You thought that we were supposed to live in a more transparent world now with everything being out in the open. Everything's not out in the open. It's just crazier than it's ever been, but very fun topic. But so I ask myself, at the end of the day, guys, where do you land on this? Do these challenges we discussed, making it not as easy as you might think to spend 40 or 50 million, even if you have it, it's tough to spend it because you have to get through that filtering process of the CSC. Does that make it easier or harder for Mr. Beast if he did want to do this and win a title or compete for a title at East Carolina? What do you think?
Oh, it's harder for sure. I mean, no doubt. Even 4 years ago, this would have been much easier.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I
don't know.
Before last July, this was very possible.
Yeah. And I mean,
this
imagine
was very possible. Yeah.
Imagine doing this in the 4-team playoff era. Like it'd be, you know, you could much easier get in there, and then all of a sudden you just have to win 2 games instead of kind of running the gauntlet. But yeah, I don't know. How about this? To close us down, how about this? I've got a better idea for Mr. Beast. Okay? Hear me out. Wanted to spend $100 million to create a national football powerhouse. How about you slash a couple zeros and you pay In the Gun podcast $1 million to build a national championship college football podcast. Mr. Beast, you give us here on ITG $1 million and you bring us onto your platform. You bring us under your wing of your content, whatever that means. We'll figure it out later. And we will become the biggest college football podcast in the country. How about that? Save you $99 million, dude. I'm just saying.
It's a good time to mention. For those who don't know, Wes, we recently had a short on ITG with one Charles Wesley Godwin.
Yes, we did.
That got 768,000 views. And
Mr. Beast
ITG
numbers.
short. So there you go, Mr. Beast. Are you listening? 768,000 on a 40-second short. 2 weeks ago, Wes? Last week? When was that, guys?
Yep. It was right around the Grammy time frame because it was Charles Wesley Godwin talking about how he wanted to win a Grammy for small town West Virginia. Yeah, Mr. Beast. So think about that. With our little measly platform, we're pumping out 800K videos, baby. Imagine what we could do with your help and $1 million. You know where to get at us if you want to get involved. You can find us. Much like Deion Sanders, we ain't hard to find. But gentlemen,
Beast and Telebeast.
This was fun. I'm looking at his YouTube. I've never watched a Mr. Beast video, not like in protest or because I don't like him or anything like that. That's just not really my realm. I'm a sports and Netflix guy, not an influencer guy. But he's got a video on here, a $1 car versus a $100 million car. Like, all right, Mr. Beast, you got me. Okay. Job accomplished. I'm going to have to watch a couple of your videos when we get at it. 7 days on a stranded island.
Wes, you know what we're going to do? We're going to get him to that billion. We're going to get him to that billion on one episode.
That's what we're going to do.
He can't get there on his own. He can only get to a measly $905 million. Owen, with our help, Mr. Beast can get to that billion.
Yeah.
We'll push him.
We'll push him. But that'll do it for this edition of ITG. So for Mr. Beast, he's pretty popular. You might have heard of him. Our producer, co-host, Mr. Do-It-All, Schuyler Callihan, the sharp-dressed barbecue and beer trucking Big O, and the signal caller, Jed Drenning. I'm Wes Uhler. The one thing we ask of you, other than $1 million, is to be an ear and tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast. Take care, everybody. We will talk to you soon. You've been In the Gun.
ITG.
The fun doesn't have to stop here.
Be sure to hit subscribe and never miss an episode.
If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback,
be sure to follow us on X at In the Gun Podcast.
Join us again next time.
Until then,
tell an ear to tell an ear about your new favorite WVU football podcast.
This mission is over. It's over.